Get ready to butter up your beauty routine with Hanahana Beauty, where natural meets nurturing in every jar.
Next Pitch TV showcases the most innovative equity crowdfunding campaigns for the verdict of the crowd.
Meet the visionary behind this beauty revolution, none other than the brilliant Abina Akiampong. With a passion for natural ingredients and a drive for inclusivity, Abina is set to shake up the beauty industry one shea butter product at a time.
First of all, welcome to Next Pitch TV, where we showcase the most innovative equity crowdfunding campaigns for the verdict of the crowd. And I have to say, Hanahana definitely is an interesting one in the sense that from what I've seen of the campaign, it isn't just that you're doing a great product that, if I understand it correctly, is aimed specifically at Black women beauty, but that you clearly seem to have a social mission as well, which is kind of a 2-for-1 special. I mean, it's quite fascinating. You mentioned that you're based in Chicago in the US, where we just interviewed Curl Mix. I don't know if you're familiar with them or not, but that's also another fantastic campaign in a somewhat similar vein. So allow me to ask you the first question. How did you actually come up with Hanahana and the whole idea behind it, if I may ask?
Yes, of course. Again, thanks for having me, Ralph. So, I'm Ghanaian American. And so growing up, I've always utilized shea butter from muscle sores to just in general, making sure my skin is moisturized. And when I moved to Chicago after university, I was teaching. Chicago was extremely cold and my skin was dry. So I decided to just start making products for myself. And through experimenting and giving it to friends and family, I guess you would say it was like, without knowing that I was actually going to launch a brand, it was allowing me to do some market research. I was more so intrigued around the process of how shea was being produced, the access, the sustainability factors around it, but then also realizing that shea butter is utilized in so many different products. However, the women that were creating it, there wasn't like a lot of storytelling around them or the access to just finances and economic sustainability. So with the, I would say, encouragement and inspiration from my friends and family, I decided to launch the brand Hanahana in 2017, which would be 3 years after I actually started making product. The whole point was to be able to create products that work for people, always be intentional around making sure our product development always had Black people in mind when creating product, but products for everyone, and also being able to be intentional about how we sourced our raw materials directly from producers.
Fantastic. And excuse my ignorance, but what exactly is shea butter? I know what butter is, or at least I think I do, but what exactly is shea butter?
Yeah, so shea butter it comes from the shea plant. It's actually a fruit and it's utilized as a moisturizer. And it's sourced and produced in over 19 countries across the continent. In Africa, Ghana is one of the main producers, but shea butter itself, it's like cocoa butter, in the same ways that it's a moisturizer, a soother, but also it's used in over 85% of beauty products, as well as also utilized in food. So they even use shea butter as a substitute in creating chocolate instead of using cocoa. But it's a product that is used in all over beauty, from hair care, makeup, body care, skin care, and one of the main producers or the spaces that it's produced is in Ghana. I think over 600,000 women are employed through shea butter production, and that's just within. So yeah, it's a product that probably you've utilized in any of your skincare, but may have not known it. Or a lot of people see it in the raw format before it's whipped or processed in different ways.
Absolutely fascinating. Now, from your campaign, which by the way is really excellent on WeFunder there, I noticed that you also have a social mission, I think it's safe to say, in terms of the production there in Ghana. Could you maybe tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so what we say is that Hanahana, we're creating daily use body care through the lens of humanity. And one of the reasons why we say that is because we start from how we source. So not only do we source directly from producers in Ghana, we pay 2 times the asking price for those raw materials, as well as being able to create access for healthcare and closing the living wage gap. And so we really see our whole mission and impact as a partnership with the producers that we work with. That's actually one of the reasons why I'm in Ghana right now, is that we're about to have our 8th healthcare day. So we provide healthcare. We have an outreach team of doctors and nurses that are from Tamale, Ghana, that used to volunteer, but now we hire them to work with us. And we provide healthcare not only to the producers, but the full entire community. And it's free healthcare. And we've been able to have focus points, to generalize healthcare, to helping get healthcare cards, insurance cards for the community. But for us, my whole mission and thought process around it is that it's important to continue to help sustain the communities that also sustain us. And, you know, when I first started, the understanding around the beauty space is at both ends, Black and Indigenous people are either creating the raw materials or they're spending the most money when it comes to beauty. So how do we, you know, as the middle person, as the brand, how do we really think about sustaining those communities that are either giving their dollars to us, or creating the raw materials before we create the finished goods?
Wow, that's really admirable. And I must say, I like the fact that clearly, yes, it's a business. You're there to make money. Let's be very clear. Mm-hmm. But there is also a greater purpose. And that is really in the spirit of the times. And I think that's really a wonderful example. Now, is this your first venture? Is that correct? Or have you?
Yes.
Before?
Yes, this is my, sorry.
No, please. Please.
Yes, it's my first venture. I actually started this when I was a teacher and attending grad school, completing my master's in counseling psychology. But, you know, I come from a home and space of different entrepreneurs and people that have really looked at how do you, you know, create impact in community, either through healthcare, education, just different ways of how we give access to people.
Yeah, it's quite amazing how many founders really come from families that seem to encourage entrepreneurship. It's always amazing. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like it's obvious, but boy, it is always amazing to me, and actually a real pleasure, I have to say. Now, in your case, I understand from the campaign, you've already raised some money from, I think, either angels and or VCs. I'm not quite sure what, but the point is conventional finance is what I'm getting at. And that is really interesting. Interesting in the sense that, it's quite frankly a challenge, especially for women and Black women in particular, I'm guessing. So it is, to me, fascinating to see that you have now decided, in addition, to go ahead and take the equity crowdfunding route. Explain to us, if you would, please, why you decided to go in that direction, given that you already raised money in the traditional way anyway.
Yes. So we've raised traditionally around over 480K, 490K from VCs, angel investors. We've had some notable ones, Alexis Ohani, Hannah Brofman. I was a part of A16Z Accelerator program. And then we've also been able, since I've launched, taken in from non-diluted funds around 300K. I was a recent winner of the 15% Achievement Award. And so all of those are, you know, it's great. But when you're thinking about scalability, one, from the sales point of view, the impact point of view, you have to have capital behind. And last year we had the opportunity where we launched into over 500 Ulta Beauty stores. And as a brand, we've been able to grow and get to this level all through organic marketing. So we just started this past quarter paid marketing, and to really grow and scale within the retail space and also continue to grow within, you know, the direct to consumer. it's really important for us to be able to have capital that also allows us not only to put towards marketing strategies, but at the end of the day too, I'm currently the only full-time employee. So to be able to actually build out team to really have a sustainable way of growth, I think it's extremely important, especially when you're looking at the space of beauty. You know, the skincare industry is over $145 billion are being made, and projected to be made, in 2028. The industry, I think in the last couple of years, is over 100 billion. And the way that money is going and brands are generating and growing is through having capital behind. And though we've been able to we still haven't raised the amount that most people are raising to actually grow and scale to a larger impact. And for me, I really look at Hanahana as a brand that is is not just for 7 years or 10 years. It's something that is going to, I hope, to be acquired in the future to be able to scale and have that access. And to do that, I wanted to give the opportunity also for our community to be able to have the opportunity to have equity too. I think that, there was a time in the last couple of years where so many VCs were giving out money and checks and all these things. And we saw a change in that in the last year and a half, especially in the US too. There's just so many different changes, DEI, all the things that are happening, even governmental level of changes on being able to help and provide access for minority owned brands. And so I thought it just kind of made sense within our impact where we're trying to scale and grow to be able to give our community the opportunity to be a part.
Well, I mean, the beauty of it is that, of course, when it comes to equity crowdfunding, yes, you're raising funding. That's your number one priority, except that when you get investment from individuals, even if it's only $100 or a couple of $100, those individuals can A, potentially become customers, and B, customers not become evangelists. And
exactly.
No additional cost, I might add. So it's kind of like, damn, it's a very compelling way for startups to raise not just a considerable amount of money, but to get this 2-for-1 special, if you want to think about it that way. And that is really an impressive thing, which, I've started 12 companies, and for most of them, this was not an option, unfortunately. Yeah. Now it is, which is one of the reasons why I'm very passionate about it. I think it's a great way for early stage startups to get the community involved and obviously get the funding that they need, despite the odds, which sadly are not very good. If 9 out of 10 startups fail, it's a thing. But this is also a significant difference in that if somebody's investing $100 or $500, it's not their life savings, but a part of something that hopefully, depending on the campaign, that they can believe in. And that is a very powerful combination in my mind. Now, the name Hanahana is thing. I used to live in Japan, and Hana, as you may or may not know, is flower in Japanese.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, that was going to be my question. How did you come up with that, and why? The name, I mean.
Yeah, of course. So I think it's so funny because I also didn't realize that it meant flower in Japanese until I actually put out the business. But in Ghana, I speak Twi, and so which is one of the dialects. And when I went home to my parents, they're in the States. But when I told my parents I decided to launch a brand, I was in grad school at this time. I was doing my master's. I was teaching. I was really on the track of going to do my PhD. But I told my dad, and my parents were so excited because they were the ones kind of talking to me about how do you make this into a bigger opportunity. And so my dad explained to me, one of the slang words is Hanahana, which means smooth, malleable, something flowing. And at that time, he didn't say Nahanahana. He just said Hanahana as the name. And so my dad is the one that helped me come up with the name. And I thought beauty would go great with it. And, for Hanahana, our whole thing is around there's no need to be ashy. We don't want you to have dry skin. We want you to feel smooth, feel confident. And I just felt like the name worked perfectly.
I love it. Yeah, no, and the fact that it happens to have an additional meaning in a different language, so much the better, because it's very positive. So I think that's a
Exactly.
good. Now, and where do you intend to go with this? Obviously, at this point, you seem to be focused, as you say, in Chicago in terms of the operation and so on. But what are your plans for the future here?
Yes. So, in the last 2 years, we've grown from direct to consumer into retail, really wanting to continue to expand our production. We produce the finished goods in Chicago, but we're looking to partner with a co-manufacturer. We've been working with them in the past year for what they call a tech transfer. So to be able to recreate our exact products. And also on the other end is that we are really looking at scalability like globally. So, starting within the US, really growing within Ulta Beauty. We're in 500 stores right now, wanting to continue to grow there and really build our community around the States. But also, I think there's just so much potential outside of the States too, as well as just introducing to new communities. So I would say like on the farther end, definitely looking at how we grow across like UK, Canada, and then sooner or later to the continent. One of my biggest dreams is to be able to produce the actual finished goods on the continent so that it makes sense for us to also sell on the continent too.
Make sure what you say on the continent, you mean in Africa, is I think what you're saying.
Yeah, yes,
Okay,
exactly. Yeah.
just to make
So
sure I understood. Yeah, okay.
of course, of course. And I think, people always ask, like, why aren't you already selling in Ghana? Why are you not already selling here in Africa? And I always say, I mean, it really would go against what our mission has always been around sustainability, not just for people, but environmentally. We don't want to source somewhere, make somewhere else, and then bring it back. If we're going to sell, we want to be able to have all the finishings in the place that we're selling to. And so the focus, I would say right now, the next 2 years is really being able to build our growth, look at the different areas that we can continue to grow in retail, and really be able to build community, because our community is the reason why we've been able to grow in the last couple of years. And there's still so many more people that are ashy or dry that we can definitely be on their bodies. So, yeah.
Wow, I have to say this is very inspiring, and I certainly wish that things continue in the right direction, which by the looks of it, they certainly are. One quick last question, if I may. From your experience so far, how have you found the experience with equity crowdfunding, since that's what we're focused on?
Yes. I mean, I think equity crowdfunding is it's a really great marketing tool as well as raising tool. And you mentioned this, like this allows us to really speak directly to our customers in a whole different way, create relationships. I think that if you have a community that is already engaged, it is the best place to go. And I think it's a great opportunity to just continue to share your story and just allow people to become, like you said, evangelists of the brand. And I think at the end of the day, when it comes to raising, being able to raise and speak directly to people that understand your product or want to be a part of startups in this way in the community through WeFunder has been like really, really helpful.
Wonderful. I'm so glad to hear it. It's been a real pleasure talking with you, and I wish you all the very best with the campaign. We'll go ahead and get this published as soon as possible, and hopefully it'll drive a lot more traffic to your campaign, which I'm sure will be very successful. So thank you very much indeed for coming on to Next Pitch TV, and we wish you all the very best.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And there you have it. With Hanahana Beauty, Abina Akiampong isn't just redefining skincare, she's revolutionizing self-care. So join the movement and back this game-changing campaign now. To know more about the featured campaign, subscribe now to nextpitch.tv.